Hi, I'm Rogers Healy, and welcome back to Rogers That, a podcast dedicated to selling without selling out. And today we have someone who means a lot to me. He's been a dear friend of mine for close to 20 years. I've been a fan of his work. A lot of y'all that are listening and watching today have actually been a part of his work, whether you know it or not. He is a real-life Bob the Builder. What he builds is not just products, he builds ideas. He's an inventor, he's a creator, he's an architect, he's a man of faith, he's an idea guy, and like a lot of entrepreneurs, he acts on his ideas. And so today we have Ryan Bricker joining us. A little bit more about him before we let him soothe you with his voice. He is an award-winning urban designer with a diverse background in site designs, master planning, solutions, and intricate transportation-related designs integral to the development of the urban fabric and growing communities. Red leather, yellow leather. You know you need unique New York. That was a lot of big words. But Ryan, you mean a lot to me. I'm glad you're here, so thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for, I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah, same here.
Always.
Yeah. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself before we get into the meat and potatoes?
Yeah, I mean, background, just I kind of grew up in the Dallas Metroplex area here in Grapevine. Always had a passion for art. Didn't know exactly what to do with that, and so kind of realized I really wanted to get into architecture. Went to Texas A&M, but then I really fell in love with landscape architecture, where we're really designing places in the outdoor spaces were such a meaningful part of my just growing up. I was like, man, I would love to be able to shape environments for people to enjoy nature or just enjoy urban spaces. And so that's kind of where I got into landscape architecture. Had a corporate career kind of in urban design is kind of a larger scope of really looking at designing and shaping and planning cities. And so I'm a designer at heart, and so I've taken, I think what we'll kind of get into a little bit later is really just taking the architectural design mind skills and how does that translate across creating other products and brands.
You just skipped a few decades, though. Yeah. So like as a kid, were you like creating something that made the Nintendo easier to use?
I was a kid.
Were you like creating some kind of weird project for science class? What was that like as a child?
I think two things. I loved building forts. Like, I don't know if kids even do that anymore. We were always out just finding junk and trees and stuff, just building crazy forts, having dirt clod wars with other rival forts.
So that was a thing? Like in Grapevine, there was like rival forts?
Grapevine, yeah. Oh, man, big gang. Big fort gangs.
A fort handshake?
Gosh, we would try to make booby traps. We would make, and I loved taking.
In the Goonies?
It was very Goonies. Like Goonies is my favorite movie, and so like even Data in there, the little inventor guy. Like I love taking apart booby trap.
Yeah.
I love taking things apart. I think that is kind of more akin to my more industrial design side, but I loved being outdoors. I think when I came to Faith at a summer camp, a Young Life summer camp, what clicked in my head is that everything around it, they designed everything intentional to create an experience for people, and that's when I started clicking that people that design can create intentional ways for people to connect with, whether it's a restaurant or a home or really any place that. With real intention, you're creating the environment that you need, the environment for relationship, the environment for community, environment for someone to, whatever that mode is they want to be in. Maybe it's reflection, relaxation, or just excitement. That really intrigued me. I was like, man, I want to design places. And I wasn't sure what that meant, but.
And then so you made the commitment to go to architecture school, which for y'all that are not familiar, what's the journey for that? Is it the same as med school? I mean,
No. I mean, it was a 5-year degree at Texas A&M. It's a lot of work. I mean, we were notorious for just all-nighters. I mean, I remember one time, but you were doing all your work in front of you in the studio. The thing I liked about it is normal schooling, you're learning a bunch of information and then you're gonna get a test. You don't know what's on the test, and you're getting surprised by the test. In the studio world, like my grade's right in front of me. I'm working on it. I can see how good it is or how bad it is, and so I felt like I had more control over kind of my outcomes in the design world because it's right there in my hands. But it was a brutal schooling. I did love it. We were, I was at a big university, but we were really tight with a bunch of studio mates. I studied in Italy. We did a summer abroad and studied in Italy, and not a summer abroad, a whole semester, and traveled out throughout Europe, which just added an entire level of kind of explosion of art and design into our education. So, but I loved it. I'm still very close with all those guys in my studio, and just had a really great time.
As a kid, did you find yourself watching the Brady Bunch because Mike Brady was an architect?
I did.
And then he was also the architect for their family?
He was.
Yeah.
Very much so. And interestingly enough, I really like that kind of style. It's a late mid-century.
No, Mike Brady the dad was an architect.
That's what I'm saying. I like the style of the home
okay.
too.
Yeah, good.
That they lived. Yeah, I show up to meetings sometimes with the yellow tube, and sometimes Yogi Bear comes out instead of the plans. But
wow, hey boo boo.
Yes. Hey, boo-boo.
Okay, so architect, inventor, etc. I mean, again, I think it's a blessing and a curse being an idea person, and I think that someone like you or me, you have an idea and you're not going to sleep until you try it, and you're not going to be done until it fails or until it wins. But what was the origin of getting to the big ideas? But also tell us a little bit about what you've done, whether it's the Arlington National Cemetery, local bridges in Dallas. How did all this kind of stuff come about?
Yeah, I think my architectural portfolio really looks like a lot of big infrastructure around the country. But here in Dallas, there's just a lot of I forget sometimes the things I designed, and I'll drive by them and I'll be like, oh, I designed that column, or I designed that bridge. And so I've got a lot of bridges, the whole tollway kind of gantry system, the aesthetics of the tollway system.
I have a few questions regarding bridges, and you can just say yes or no if you've been a part of it. The bridges of Madison County.
No.
Rolling Stones bridges to Babylon.
No.
Okay, Jeff Bridges.
Big fan.
Lloyd Bridges.
Fan.
Okay, but you had nothing to do with
their creation.
Okay, just want to
or procreation.
ask the questions that I know other people are probably wondering. And then what about the Golden Gate Bridge?
Golden Gate Bridge. I've been across it many times.
Okay.
Yeah.
And last question regarding this: have you ever burned a bridge?
I'm really good at not burning bridges.
How about an Adirondack chair?
I have been associated with the burning of an Adirondack chair. I was not the instigator of.
Okay, yeah, we'll put this in the comments section. But back to the inventor and getting to, obviously we have some great product shots here of some stuff that we're going to talk about here in a second. But I mean, this stuff you're talking about, these are significant. And I think that part of the pressure, you're not necessarily in sales, but you are, right? You sell yourself, you walk in with the yellow tube, and you have to go qualify, have them fall in love with you, but more importantly, have them fall in love with your design. But the thing that most people don't realize about an architect is you're a massive liability. And you have to go do these things that their life depends on your product, not like a corkicle glass, even though I'm sure there's, did I say it wrong?
Corksicle, yeah.
Corksicle.
Yeah.
Not like a corksicle glass, but these are bridges. So what kind of stress goes into that to where you come out okay, knowing that you don't become a sellout along the way?
Well, there's a whole, when you get into huge projects like that, I mean, there's a whole lineage of professionals and structural engineers and just a whole layering of professionals that are all bringing their expertise to the table to make sure that the project is correct and it's the right project, and obviously that it's safe. So yeah, I work with huge teams of people like Arlington National Cemetery you mentioned. That's my big project I've been working on for years, the expansion of that. We have a huge team of, designers and consultants, engineers, utility experts, electronics experts, cybersecurity, like massive teams that work on these projects because they're massive projects.
Well, what's the timeline for something like that?
I mean, I've been working for 7 years designing multiple parts of the master plan expansion. The final design of what we're calling the southern expansion, it's about a 50-acre expansion south. We've been working on that final design probably 3 years.
Without even anything starting?
Hasn't even started. We just finished phase 1. We'll go out to bid. So, yeah, some of these design processes take years.
Is it hard to get inspired knowing you're going to walk? Like, I like instant gratification. And I think it's really hard as a business owner, as a creative, to know that there's ideas that you might have. You're like, this isn't going to happen overnight. Like low level idea of building a house, obviously higher level is probably a national landmark.
Yeah, my whole career has worked on big projects that literally can be 10 years. And I'll have drawn something, it'll be 10 years later till it's out of the ground and done. And so I will forget about the project, or by the time it's built, you're like, oh, I would have maybe done this differently. You're totally right. Like, I feel like I have a more immediate need for kind of touching and feeling and seeing a project come to life. I think that's what's interesting when I transition into product design, which is a story in and of itself, but there's just such an immediate, more tactile connection to design, whether it's a microphone, a book, a glass, and so that kind of reignited, I think, a different kind of interest in design for me as I've kind of moved into product design.
Loaded question. I'll lead with, as a real estate guy, it's impossible for me to look at the world with any innocence ever again because of real estate, where I can look at this table and like, oh, the Corkcicle cup is taking up real estate. My cup with my face is taking up real estate. And then I look at everything like that, which kind of takes away a lot of the innocence and a lot of the excitement about seeing a new city, right? Or site plans or whatever it is. Is that how you are with literally everything? You see something, you're like, I could have made that better. The microphone, right? Like a watch, a cup. What is it?
I think about it creatively, or I appreciate it. Like, I will look at objects a lot of times and see what I like about it. If there's a problem in it, or I see it or feel it, I'll be like, yeah, that would have been a lot better if that thing connected over here, if it was this.
Is it hard to be present?
You know where it's hard to be present? So an example, I was in Barcelona this summer, and I went to Barcelona. I went to the Sagrada Familia, like one of the most famous cathedrals in the world.
I thought it was an Italian restaurant.
That would be a good restaurant.
Yeah.
It was so overwhelming because the design was so incredible, but my brain was also saying, I know there's no way to actually draw and design this and build this 200 years ago. So my brain couldn't actually, it was overwhelming from a technical standpoint, and it distracted from the beauty because I'm like, there's no way. There's just no way you can design and build this stuff.
Did you think that you were in like an alternate universe?
I mean, I was like, this is the closest I've felt to like being in this is another world, or what heaven will be like. It
completely unrelated. Had you been drinking sangria prior? Wait, you were in Italy or Spain?
I was in Spain.
How much sangria did you have? To where maybe you actually didn't go to.
What do we drink out there? Not mezcal, the vermouth.
Oh, vermouth.
Might have had some vermouth.
Yeah, which is like a
it's like
Spanish
a
moonshine.
It probably is.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so the creative in you again, like obviously, and part of the objective of this podcast and this conversation is to inspire people and to spark an interest for them to go and follow their heart, right, and follow their gut. And I think that one of my missions in life is never look back and be like, I wish I would have tried something, right? There's some things I wish I would have given up on or retired earlier, but that's just not how I'm wired. But get us to the place where you're doing like these massive deals. It's what's getting you paid, but obviously you still have this big part of your heart that wants to be filled with you knowing that you accomplished something as an entrepreneur. So the inventor in you versus the designer and the architect, what kind of crossroads, what was that like, and how did you fight it, and then what was your first step to becoming an actual real-life inventor?
A real-life inventor, yeah. So for me, it's like I have this big kind of still do this big corporate architecture role. It really started with, I've always wanted to get into product design, or I've always wanted to create a product, but for like a lot of people, I thought it meant you had to raise all this money and go on Shark Tank and sell your house and do all this crazy stuff. I'm like, I've got a million product ideas, but I'm not down for that. Like I can't sell everything I have and venture off into some idea. And then when I learned about licensing, I think it was from 4 Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss's book. I'd never even heard of licensing, that you could actually invent something and just like a song or whatever, give it to a company and get a royalty. And I was like,
it's a good analogy. You're saying like a songwriter who can't sing can still get 100%. Paid for the song that they write.
100%. And so I was talking, just a friend of a friend. Long story short, I met a good friend who started this brand, Corkcicle. It was a Corkcicle. It looks like an icicle that goes in a bottle of wine.
Product shop.
They had one product at the time that they invented, and they did fantastic. I met with him and just said, it was just kind of a deal where it was like, hey, let me come up with new product ideas for you. And so this wasn't an invention. People ask me this. I didn't invent it in my head by myself. I had a friend's brand. I'm like, what can I do for that brand? okay, they've already got something in wine. They were doing something for a beer bottle. I'm like, okay, what's something in the spirit side? And for me, it was a very simple idea of like, I love the shape and feel of a heavy whiskey glass and a big ball of ice. I was like, what if we do something with the ice that looks a little more visual, functional? And so for me, it was creating these new designs and inventions for this brand. And the cigar glass was the same thing. I would always hold a cigar and a whiskey glass like this in my hand. And then I was like, well, what if I just took the glass and indent it? Now I can kind of hold it even easier, and I can actually put the glass down, my cigar's there. And so these two very simple ideas have been just, and the brand Corksicle has just grown and grown. They make all kinds of wonderful kind of lifestyle brand of a lot of drinking accessories and cooling products and coolers.
By the way, thanks for not lighting up a cigar in here.
I would be right now. If we weren't outside, we'd have all of this.
8 a.m. too, but who cares?
So yeah, Corksicle's been an awesome brand to just walk alongside and dream up new product ideas. So then that opened me up to, I'm an inventor, I'm a product designer. And then I started just meeting with all these other brands through them, and then the idea brain just went on, and I was just thinking of ideas left and right, pitching ideas.
Yeah, and I think even with something like that, man, it's like euphoria meets, I don't even know what the word is, but there's a part of me, it's like once you strike gold with something, knowing that it's just that addiction, it's the deal, right? As a salesperson, like there's never a deal that's going to get me in this place. I'm like, okay, I'm good. It's like, when's the next one? Right? And I'm assuming that's kind of how your headspace is as well, is you have this like revolutionary product that is really unique, really cool, and it's yours, but you're probably going to be like, okay, back to work, right? You're going to have to go and think of the next product, which I think takes away some of the joy, but again, maybe not for everybody.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's like, I want to come up with the next idea. And the fact that I'm not really taking, at least in this case, or a lot of my ideas, I'm not trying to take the product to market myself and own the whole thing. We talk a lot about partnership. Man, I want to do what I'm best at, and that's creating the idea, creating the design, and then put it in the hands of people that can execute, so I can go on to the next idea. And so I try to stay in my lane. I get a lot of feedback from people, because I've pitched a ton of products that bombed or no one would take them, and people are like, why don't you just do it yourself? Just make the product. And so I'm toying with that now. There is a product I'm working on. Actually, the guys from Corksicle said, he goes, man, that's a great product. He goes, you should make that. He goes, just step out and take those steps. So I am.
Can we get like a
learning.
teaser?
It is a super innovative barbecue grilling tool that will blow your mind, change the world. So, investor.
Round two, investor. Here we go.
Here we go.
That's why you're here.
That's why we're
here.
here.
You're pitching something. Have you ever had something that has not had a successful jaunt, like a bombed idea?
Oh gosh, I've had 100, probably 75 ideas that I've pitched that just.
I love it. Give us an array. Give us a range of what these things could be.
Gosh, everything from like a kitchen pizza cutter that would cut 8 slices in one movement like an umbrella. They thought that was too dangerous. I think it's awesome.
You're like Doc from Back to the Future.
I mean, I've got a full spectrum of things that are, very hardware tools. I had one that I thought was great. It was like it's a sliding handle on a pickaxe. So instead of like loosening your grip and losing control when you do that, the handle slides, and so you have full control. So a lot of my stuff I feel like is very ergonomic.
There's a lot of people listening and watching it that are pickaxe people.
The pickaxe. It's a niche.
There are only 74 ideas of bomb.
Yes.
This is where we bring it back to life. Okay, so with your product, if you had to go pick one right now that you think is the most impactful, powerful, etc., what is it?
My consumer products?
Yeah.
I've only have a few on the market. The Whiskey Wedge, which is just, it's literally, I laugh a lot because it's a triangle, but I think what it shows, it's just beauty and simplicity. That's something you can do that's so simple, but different enough, but approachable enough. Like, this was just the simplest idea, and it continues to sell. It's been selling for like 7 years, and I don't know, over almost 2 million of these maybe have been sold worldwide. And then for me, it's not like it's changing the world, but just to go on like social media and see people like hashtag and post about it and show like they got this great gift. It's usually a gift, like, oh, my uncle gave me this, I gave you this. Like, to see joy in something you make, it's weird because, you know, I'm working on national cemeteries, these amazing historic sacred places, and then at the same time down to the scale of like a gift of a whiskey glass, which is totally different but totally fun. And yeah, that's been really fun for me.
Let's talk about the ripoff
Yeah.
syndrome. And I think that, you know, with what you do, it's literally unique to your head, to your mind, and the way that you think. Have you ever had something, or the whiskey wedge, that maybe inspired someone who took a shortcut and a cheaper route of finding money by copycatting your ideas?
Yeah, and so, you know, I try to get intellectual property on all my ideas and patents, but the cigar glass, no one's really ripped off whiskey wedge too much, but cigar glass, there's plenty of companies that have taken the concept and violated the patents and sold versions of this. I think that's where it kind of comes down to brand. Like, if you have a great brand, people can steal your idea, but they're going to go back to the brand for that. And so I've really kind of become a student, I think, or a better student of brand too, and just like the value and importance of brand. I
want you to say that one more time, and I want you, like, I think that's a very powerful thing that we work in a world of competition, and I think that we are in a phase of the world. I almost said the universe, but it's not my style, where people are lazy, they're entitled, they have a lack of character, and they find a way to go and do a legal shortcut. But the one thing that people like you and me and other people that are part of this that can own is your brand. And I think that's a very powerful statement you just made, and I want you to put a little bit more emphasis on it.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Whether it is an actual a brand that makes products, or you as your personal brand, I think you nailed it on the head as far as like I've always believed you play the long game. Life is a long game. You play the long game. You asked earlier about burning bridges. Like, I've even said, even in the architectural world, like, don't burn a bridge because it's a very small community, even just professionally with younger kids. But I think the idea of the brand of yourself and the totality of the things that you bring to the table, either professionally, personally, relationship-wise, is probably is one of the most valuable things you can have. And so to translate that to a glass, yeah, you can have some weird off-brand thing that steals your idea and package it and, you know, sell some of them. But at the end of the day, I think people will come back to the brand that they know and love. If you want to get quality, if you want to get the original idea, for sure.
Yeah, good for you for having that wisdom. It's not always been my approach, and I don't know, I'm a very sensitive, emotional person, and I think it's really hard not to take things seriously, especially, I mean, at one point, I remember this real estate company, it was literally our logo, it was our letters, our sign size, our colors, everything, and they were called like Rock Realty, and I was like, what? And then I was like, okay, we'll just power through because they're not going to be around for long. But it's hard. I think it's hard to see that, and for you, it's got to be a different kind of hard where it would just piss me off. But I guess you've got a different sense of you, which makes you a longer term competitor. So.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me, like, when I see lots of knocks-offs of my products, it's like, I mean, there's a part of me is like, wow, that's stealing money from me. That's my money, my royalties that are gone. But I don't have the time and energy to, you know, chase those things down. But yeah, I think it's like, I think you have to balance, like, what's going to become a distraction for me, and what's the, like, ultimate return on investment of fixing that distraction versus going on to the next thing and doing what I can do.
Like, keep it moving. What do you feel has been your biggest challenge on the road to success? And again, I think it's powerful that you said that you've had millions of ideas, you've had hundreds you've acted on, and you've had a handful that have actually worked. But on the roadmap to success, and when you actually have a hit, you get a lick. What challenge have you faced, and how have you persevered to stay true to being Ryan Bricker?
Yeah, mine's been hard. Mine's not our entrepreneurial journey is different. Like, I wasn't the guy that quit his job and, you know, sold everything and just went all in and burned the boats. Like, I liked what I was doing. I've been working on some important projects. I'm working a full-time kind of career, and so the challenge is like, man, if I'm going to build a side hustle into another venture, like that's nights and weekends, and I chose the worst time in life. It was when I was having our first, child, and so I've got young kids, working multiple jobs, and yeah, it was hard. Like there were some burnout areas for sure. I think the success, what you said, like I had some early success, and so many of my ideas have gotten like traction. Like there's always been traction that's kept me in the game, and now I just love the game.
Yeah.
And so and just growing and getting to know a wider network of just entrepreneurs and all the things they're doing. I mean, now I'm into all kinds of things and working with really interesting people around the world, and that's been the most fun thing, is just kind of discovering new people and the other things that people are doing, and where can you bring some value into their relationship, into their thinking, and how does design fit into that process.
It's a way of thinking.
Yeah.
Question you have to answer for me quickly.
Yes.
Without thinking. What's the thing you're most proud of in your professional career? You got to answer quick.
Arlington National Cemetery, just to getting to work on it.
Yeah.
Working for a sacred place, being able to shaping some significant places and spaces out there. I think I said that at the beginning. Like, this will be there for, it's a piece of American history, and just a chance to serve. My father was an Air Force fighter pilot. I haven't served. I feel like I get to serve those who serve.
Yeah.
And
I love it. Best advice you've ever received?
Best advice, I would maybe say, like, play the long game. And I feel like I do play the long game.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years, looking back? Looking back, knowing that you have projects essentially every 10 years. 10 years from now, you're in your 70s, and...
I'm not in my 70s. I think 10 years from now, hopefully my work, will be moving out of the phase of just kind of from worker to owner, more to just investor, a little bit like where your world's going. And then using that time to really free up. My kids will be, starting to go to college and be able to like invest more time, going down to football games at A&M or something. I don't know. But I want to invest more time with people than just projects. I've been so like kind of career driven, I think, for the first part of my life.
Yeah. And then like kind of finishing words, knowing that you just gave us a lot. You gave us the journey of an architect, the journey of an inventor, the journey of a father, of a believer, of someone who is a husband, who is a doer, who has been a failure, who keeps pushing on. Like it's a lot to take in, but what's the one thing you want people that are watching and listening to this today to take home with them, other than a corksicle?
I think it's the value of relationship. Everything that I've done and where I've had success is really relationship. This was a glass. I mean, the idea came through a relationship where someone had a brand and needed new product ideas. Design is a relationship. What is the relationship between the shape and size of ice and the glass? And so design is all about physical relationships or functional relationships. And then I think the value of like human relationships, and you embody it in the way that you connect with people so quickly, and you know how to create partnership. And I think that partnership idea of life, playing the long game, building relationships that last a lifetime, for me, like that's what's important to me.
I love it. Great job. You should be really proud of yourself. I know that there's still a lot more left to do, but this is inspiring. I think that your sense of self is really powerful. I think the fact that most people have one failure and they go back to what is easy and what's normal, but the rare few push through and they give people vigor and inspiration. So I think that what you've done is incredible, ranging from the cemetery to the bridges of Babylon to Corksicle. And I'm grateful for you and for our friendship, and looking forward to hearing the feedback on this. The last question: how do we best support you? How do we find you? I know you've got a new venture you're launching, whether it's buying Corksicle or...
Yeah, buy lots of whiskey wedges. And no, I mean, I think support me. I am looking at building some more brands. We have a brand with a good friend of mine called Kill Your Giant, which is really just that was some artwork that I'd done. I have an art gallery called Good God Gallery, which is its own kind of style of art that uses scripture in a unique way. But this idea of David and Goliath, David's one of my favorite characters. This idea of kill your giant came out in some artwork, and then I realized from an IP perspective, no one had the trademarks on kill your giant, so I got all the trademarks and the websites. I'm like, okay, now I've got IP around a brand name that connects to this ubiquitous story that kind of transcends faiths and traditions. And so it's like, yeah, kill your giant. Everyone is coming, everyone has something coming against them. And so we're literally even today going to meet with some brand building people and working on that. So look out for Kill Your Giant coming. Look out for the most incredible barbecue tool known to man soon.
Maybe we'll do a giveaway whenever it comes out.
We'll get a giveaway when that comes out.
And then on Instagram.
Instagram, I'm just like a regular dad dude. I think I'm Ryan E. Bricker. And
are you Ryan E. Bricker?
I am I don't have one of these check marks. I'm just a dude who's taking kids to soccer practice and seeing cool art, or traveling and seeing cool things.
That's your brand.
I'm just a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's Ryan E. Bricker.
Ryan E. Bricker.
On social.
On socials.
Well, this is great, man. We look forward to hearing more, and as soon as your products come out, we'll be sure to announce it and find a way to give it to the people that are supporting you. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Ryan, thanks for coming.
Hey, I'm Ryan Bricker, and this is how you sell without selling out. Roger's that.